Well, hello and welcome to my latest video. New hat, by the way. Do you like the hat? It's a little bit cold here in my garage, my new home, and I've got some white powder on my top here. And no, I haven't been channeling my inner Marco Pantani. This is actually talcum powder. And why is it talcum powder? Not because I had a bath, it's because I was fitting some inner tubes into my new Pirelli Cinturato tyres, and I was using talcum powder. And if you don't know why you might use talcum powder to install your inner tubes, then you need to watch one of my videos. Well, what are we talking about today? Well, as some of you will know who have who have viewed some of my recent videos, I have placed an order. Yes, indeed, I have placed an order for an e-bike. Hasn't arrived yet, but I thought one of the things I ought to do, because I know some of you are also thinking of getting an e-bike, is I ought to do an e-bike fit, because it's very important that the e-bike that you get fits you properly, and it's not like doing an ordinary bike fit, and nor is it like doing a gravel bike fit. And there is a video on my channel, again, sorry about all this advertising, that tells you how to do a decent gravel bike fit. Now, the first thing you have to do is, you may remember a few years ago on, I think it was called Police 5, fronted by Shaw Taylor, they always used to have e-fits. And an e-fit was a kind of artist's impression of the villain that they were looking for, because obviously they didn't know what the villain actually looked like. They didn't have CCTV, they didn't have a photograph, so they've got some artists, sometimes famous artists. They got Rembrandt, he used to do it. Picasso, he used to do it as well. His ones weren't very good. They're all kind of angular and square. The Jackson Pollock, he used to do it as well. That was mainly a lot of scribbles. Anyway, they used to get these e-fits of villains, and when they captured the villain, it was always amazing how the villain looked nothing like the picture, whether it was a Picasso or a Jackson Pollock or Van Eyck. I'm a big fan of Van Eyck. Van Gogh, the Impressionists, other artists were also used. But the first thing you have to do, if you're thinking of getting an e-bike, you've got to do an e-bike fit, you have to do an e-fit. And that means you have to stand like this, perfectly still, don't say anything, click. Take a photograph of yourself, face on like that. Then you need to do one in this left profile. I can't actually see the camera now, so I just have to assume it's looking in the right place, and click, you take a picture of it like that, and then you turn like that and you do right profile. So you've got front side, you've got left side, you've got rear side. No need to do the back of your head, but when you've got those three images, take them with you when you go to the bike shop, because that's the first thing that they're going to need to do the appropriate e-bike fit. They need to do an e-fit. Now, the next thing you need to know if you're buying an e-bike is, obviously, it requires power to power up the battery. So you need to make sure that the plug that you're going to use to power up your e-bike is the right size. So I've got my Park Tool tape measure, I've got my plug here, and this particular plug is 5 centimeters wide and 4.5 centimeters high. Now, you may have a different plug. You may have a 2-pin plug, you may have a 4-pin plug. One thing that you need to remember if you're watching the video in the United Kingdom is that come January the 1st, when we leave the European Union, you will no longer be able to use the 3-pin plug, because this is a European invention, and you're going to have to start using the British plug. Now, unfortunately, the British plugs aren't going to be available until December the 29th. So you've only got 2 days to get all the plugs that you need to fit all of your appliances. So when you get the plug, measure it and make sure that it's the right size, because if your plug doesn't fit, then I'm afraid your e-bike fit isn't going to work. Now, the next thing you need to do is, on this plug we have a flex, and you know what a flex is? A flex is like a long piece of wire, and this flex is what stretches between the plug socket and where you plug it into your bike. And you need to make sure, again, that your flex is long enough for the bike that you're going to buy. Now this particular flex is 183 centimeters long. So write that down on your special e-bike fit piece of paper. You can download a PDF from my website if you want to use my version of it. It contains all the information you need and all the various boxes where you fill in the various numbers, and then you press calculate at the bottom on your PDF, and that will give you the correct size of bike that you need. So we've measured the plug. Remember, you can't use this plug after the December the 31st. We've measured the length of our flex. And then the next thing we need to do is the height of our power point from the ground. All right, I'm here. This is me here, just a little bit further down. And here is my plug socket, my double plug socket. It is important that you have a double plug socket, because with your e-bike you need to have a plug socket for the power to go in, and then you need to have a plug socket for the power to come out if you overcharge it. It's very important that you don't overcharge your e-bike. So let me just move out of the way so that you can get a good view of the plug socket. And I'm putting my tape measure down on the ground, and I'm measuring, and this is 120. Sorry, just raise the camera up there so you can see me. Sorry about that. 120 centimeters off the ground. So put that measurement into your special PDF that you've downloaded from my website, because you're going to need that as well. So if your plug socket is 120 centimeters off the ground, then you'll be able to get an e-bike that fits you properly. All right, the next measurement that we need to do is, you may have more than one e-bikes. I've actually ordered 4 e-bikes, one of which is just an ordinary e-bike. One is a gravel e-bike, one is a road e-bike, and the other one is an e-bike tandem, so I can go out riding with my wife or anybody else that I can find to ride with me. But if you're going to have 4 bikes, then you're going to need one of these things, which is called a kind of white block with 4 plug sockets on it. And you need to measure the width of this, and this particular one is 24 centimeters wide. So if you're ordering 4 e-bikes, then you need a 24 centimeter wide white plug socket strip, and again you can put that into my PDF form, which you can download from my website. Now if you're only ordering 3 e-bikes, then you can get away with just measuring the width of the 3. If you're ordering 2 e-bikes, you can get away with measuring just the width of the 2. But if you're only having 1 e-bike, I'm afraid you can't use this kind of plug strip, because this only works with e-bikes. Very important measurement that you're going to need is to measure your battery. Now this is the battery that I'm hoping to use in my e-bike. This is called an AA battery. I got this when I was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, sorry, not allowed to tell you that. And this is called a Duracell Plus, and it's called a Duracell Plus because it gives you plus the amount of power that you need in order to cover a useful distance on your e-bike. Now this battery will allow me to cover 100 meters in my e-bike. So I've bought 500 of these, which I will store in my panniers, in my front bar bag, in my top tube bag, in my frame bag, and in my trailer. And then with all these batteries, I'll be able to cover a pretty fair old distance on my e-bike. But it's important that I have the measurement of this. So I'm just going to measure this here. And this is 5 centimeters. 5 centimeters for this Duracell Plus. You can tell it's a Duracell Plus because it's got a little plus sign on there. Can you see that? And this is one of the best e-bike batteries that you can get. Now, your e-bike battery may not look exactly like this. You may have a cheap Chinese or Japanese or Taiwanese, other Southeast Asian countries are available, version of this battery. This is a particularly good one. This has been used to power bunnies, rabbits in the past, and it works very well. So I've used this before on some of my other appliances, my other electric appliances, electric carving knife, for example, my toothbrush. What else did I use? I had a battery-powered radio as well. Incidentally, the thought just struck me. There was a fella, I can't remember his name now, but he invented a wind-up radio. Do you remember that? You wound it up and then it powered the radio. And the reason he did this was so that people in third world countries where they didn't have access to electricity and batteries would still be able to listen to the radio if they had a wind-up radio. Why can't you have a wind-up e-bike? So you have an e-bike, and you can have a winding mechanism. You could possibly use the pedals for that, and that winding mechanism could then provide the power which could power the bike, and then you wouldn't need one of these particular e-bike batteries. So if anybody wants to take that idea and run with it, I'm happy for you to take that in return for let's say 110% of the profits, and you can have the remainder. So those various measurements, just getting back to the e-bike fit, those various measurements, write them down on the PDF form which you've downloaded from my website, take it into your local bike shop, show them the measurements, pick out the bike that you want, pay your money, and there you are. You've got an e-bike that fits you perfectly, and you'll be able to ride for hundreds of miles and then plug it in and go for another ride. So I hope you found that video useful. I hope I'll see you on the road on our e-bikes together, me with my 500 batteries in the trailer and you with your 250 or however many it is. But I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I hope you'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. See you next time.